In today's video, we're going to show you how to install skirting boards into a bay window using our special flexible skirting board from Skirting for You. This unique material becomes flexible when heated, but also retains its form once cooled. To find out how much skirting we will need, we will first need to measure our bay window. Here we're using flexible ply strips to gauge our measurement. As we go along, we're adding these strips along the curvature of the wall. Each strip we have cut to 1 meter, joining each strip until we reach the end of our bay window that will have an overhang. With this excess strip, we're going to mark where the strip ends, then measuring the strip and adding the total length of how many 1 meter strips we used, totaling 2 meters and 807 millimeters. In this demonstration, we're going to fit a full length of flexible skirting into the bay, which we supply sizings of up to 2.4 meters. We will then join a second piece of flexible skirting to complete the curve, and then at each corner of the bay, we will join the ends of the flexible skirting to regular MDF skirting that would be used in the rest of the room. We will be fitting our full length of flexible skirting first, so we will need to cut the angles for joins on each side of the flexible skirting board before we fit it into the bay window. We will need to calculate the angle both pieces need to be mitered so they fit together seamlessly. To do this, use a manual adjustable bevel, adjust the length so that it's sitting flush against the curvature of the wall. This will give us an accurate measurement. With our measurement gauge, we want to mark out our angle. Place down our bevel onto a flat surface and mark our angle onto a piece of paper. Using a protractor, we can find our angle. In this instance, our angle is 107 degrees. With this, we will need to do a quick calculation to find where to cut our angle. Simply take 180, which is the angle of a straight wall, minus our measurement, which is 107. This gives us a calculation of 73 degrees. We then need to divide this by 2, which is 36.5 degrees. This gives us the angle we need to cut our skirting board. Now we can make our cuts to our flexible skirting. For reference, mark the direction where our MDF skirting will join. Set the miter saw to our calculated angle, making sure that we are cutting to the direction we marked for reference, then make our cut. Then, on the opposite end of our skirting, mark the direction of our join where we will extend our skirting. Set the miter saw to 22.5 degrees. This angle is standard practice when joining two pieces of skirting together, and then cut the direction we marked for reference. Now we need to add our fixing points. We're evenly distributing our fixing across the front end of our skirting so that we can get a solid fixing when fitted. Before we start heating our skirting, mark out 600mm sections across the back end of the board. This will help us work gradually in each section to help build up the temperature evenly. Now we can start to heat our flexible skirting. Using a heat gun, gradually begin to build the temperature up through the board, keeping the gun at a distance of about 15 centimeters. Gradually heat each section we marked out until the whole of our skirting is evenly heated. Once we have spread the heat evenly, the skirting will be hot to the touch throughout and will have turned into a rubber-like state. We can now begin to bend our skirting to the fascia of our bay window. Be mindful that the board will be hot when handling, so we advise that gloves are worn during this process. Push the skirting to the bay window to match the profile of the bay window. If we're finding any resistance when bending, then the board is not hot enough and will need to be heated up more. If we force the skirting to bend, then we run the risk of snapping the material. Before fixing into place, make sure that our angle cut aligns with the angle of our external wall. Once we're happy, fix the skirting into place. Now we need to cut an oversized piece of flexible skirting to extend our skirting to the end of our bay window. Mark the opposite angle of our previous joining cut, then cut to the same angle as before, which was 22.5 degrees. Heat the back end of the board until it is hot to the touch and malleable. Push the board so that it joins our previous fixed skirting and bend it to match the profile of the bay window. Mark where the excess ends and mark the angle where our external piece will join for reference. Bend the material back to a flat piece so that we can accurately cut our final angle. The cut that we're making next is the angle which we calculated earlier that will join to our regular MDF skirting. Align the miter saw to the angle calculated and cut our board to the correct angle we referenced, aligning it with the mark where the piece will end. Then add our fixing holes before heating. Gradually heat the board through again and then check to see that everything aligns correctly before fixing into place. If you are happy with our alignment, add a small bead of wood joining glue and slide our end piece into position and then fix into place. To join an external skirting, cut our skirting board to the opposite angle. Check that everything aligns correctly before fixing into place. To join our two pieces together, add a thin bead of wood joining glue along the beveled edge of our cut. Slide into position and then fix into place. Now we need to fill all the gaps and fixing holes using a filler. We're using a 2-part filler for this demonstration, but pre-mix fillers or dry compound mix can be also used depending on preference. Apply the filler to our fixing holes and our join. Once applied, leave to set for about 30 minutes or until hardened. Once cured, use a P80 sandpaper to remove the excess filler. Taking our time sanding to ensure that the filling is sanded to match the profile of the skirting board. Now we need to remove the gap between the skirting and the wall using caulking. Using a skeleton gun, gently extrude the caulking to the edge of the skirting, ensuring that a consistent bead is applied. Then remove any excess by either running our finger or using a cloth across the edge. Allow it to dry for 2 to 24 hours depending on temperature conditions. When the caulking is dried, we're ready to decorate our skirting and the surrounding areas to suit our personal preference. Once complete, we now have a stunning skirting that looks seamless and professional. For more tutorials, tips and tricks, consider subscribing to our channel, pressing the bell icon so that you don't miss any of our latest videos. We hope this video helped and we'll see you in the next one.